Alright, we have got to talk about this Bleach situation, and I don't mean the Bleach that I want to drink after learning about this Bleach situation. I've been watching this unfold on Twitter for literal days now, and I'm going to be real. I said it in my tweet, and I'm going to say it here. Wendee Lee did nothing wrong, and we're going to get into that. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to, well, there was this anime back in about 2004, 2005, whatnot, called Bleach. A lot of individuals liked it. It wasn't as good as Naruto or One Piece, but, people enjoyed it since Dragon Ball was off the air, and it got a resurgence recently. And the resurgence came with some recastings that people weren't too fond of on account of they had nostalgia for this 20-plus-year-old series, or almost 20-year-old series. Nostalgia that's, very valid considering this is a rebranding, a comeback for an anime that's been off the air for quite a while. Well, when you start getting into recastings, fans get a little on the fence, get a little upset if you're an OG fan, understandably so. So welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and we're going to go into a story covering this recasting and then the reversal of the recasting because, some studios know how to actually give fans what they want, and then the entire backlash around it, which of course includes claims and accusations of racism that, let's be real, aren't there, at least aren't there in 99% of instances. Before we do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I am trying to get to the 2,000 subscriber mark before the end of the year, and with barely over 300 to go, I think we can really hit that. You're going to get yourself some nerdy news every day, sometimes twice a day. It's going to be a good time. Let's get into talking about whether Wendee Lee was in the wrong or not. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. The messy story of the Bleach voice acting controversy explained. Diversity in voice acting should be easy, but a recent scandal involving fan-favorite Bleach character yoruichi reveals it's anything but, and right here, we already see where this article is going to lean. We're already going to see the ideological and probably political bend it has, purely based on how this one paragraph looks. This is the character, as you notice, relatively dark-skinned character. Now, this is an anime, but it's hard to tell. Maybe they're a Latino character, black character. Doesn't really matter. It's animated. It was a manga, but according to freaks on, certain sides of the political aisle, things like that do matter. As Bleach 1000-Year Blood War, a continuation of the popular Bleach anime, one of the big three of shonen anime series, continues to run, viewers were expected to see fan-favorite character yoruichi make her first appearance in the show, but the excitement soured as fans' voice actors argued on social media over who has the right to voice a character of color, invoking the specter of racism versus nostalgia in voice casting. It must be so tiring and taxing being on the side of things that looks for racism in everything, to be the actual racist that looks for race in every single facet of life because they cannot sleep at night unless they're out there calling out somebody for their unconscious bias or for their racism or for what they can do better in the world or their internalized misogyny or yada yada yada. I mean, it truly does seem exhausting. You got individuals out there who are willing to police every single nerdy and probably oftentimes non-nerdy franchises, media, workplaces, whatnot, looking for any excuse to bring up racism because we live in such soft times that they've never experienced any real struggle. And these are the actual racists because that's all they see about this character. All they see is the race, despite the fact that, admittedly, I'm not a massive Bleach fan. I've been really enjoying 1000-Year Blood War, but I actually prefer, Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto far more. Bleach, to me, Bleach is a poor man's Yu Yu Hakusho. Shout out to the OGs out there who are Yu Yu Hakusho fans. But that being said, look, I guarantee you this character has far more to her than her race, and people are throwing a fit over nothing because, well, that's all people do nowadays. It's exhausting, and they want to make these claims that individuals of, white people or whatnot cannot voice dark characters. Well, I gotta disagree. Voice acting is for anyone because it's acting. I'm sure you guys, if you've watched any of my old videos, have heard me say that. So when Wendee Lee, the original voice actress, comes out and says that she wants to continue to play the character, I don't see a damn problem with that. On October 7th, Afro-Latina voice actress Anaris Quinones, sorry if I butchered the name, announced on X that she had been cast to voice yoruichi in the 1000-Year Blood War. I'm the English voice of yoruichi in Bleach, 1000-Year Blood War. Well, no you're not, because you got replaced with the original voice actress because people are not going to bow and kowtow to shameless diversity hires. Look, Anaris, I'm going to be real. I'm sure you're a fantastic voice actor. I'm sure you are good at your job and that you know what you're doing. But in a legacy project like this, and a product that has got 20 years of history, when the original voice actor is alive and is still available, that's what the majority of fans would want. Bleach 1000-Year Blood War, this isn't something for new fans. This is not a way to introduce people to Bleach. This is purely a project made for nostalgia. It is something for the people who have been fans of the series for the last 20-ish years, give or take, who, have unceremoniously had their show canceled, and now, years later, they're getting the chance for it to come back with its final season. This is nothing but fan bait, really. Like, this is a fan bait nostalgia product, and as a fan bait nostalgia product, the fans should get that nostalgia and fan baiting, which means the original cast back in every instance. I remember being incredibly upset when I found out the voice for Chad, my favorite character in Bleach, had been replaced purely because the actor, the original voice actor, felt uncomfortable playing Chad because Chad was of Mexican descent. Really? Everyone else in the show is from Japanese descent. Why all of a sudden is it okay for a bunch of white people to voice characters of Japanese descent, but not Mexican, not Latino or anything? It's a very, very ideological, weird line that they think, hey, it's okay to voice the Asian people and be white, but it's not okay to voice the black or Latinos. Tell me how that works in your whole racism, loophole roles and rules. It doesn't make sense to me that some races are okay for white people, but others aren't, and the fact that you're uncomfortable auditioning for non-white characters means that you just axed about 50% or more of your anime roles. But I bet if I go look at your upcoming roles or the things you've done since 1000 Year Blood War, you probably got some Japanese or Asian characters in there, because that's alright. Asians aren't, unsuccessful. They're not the beaten down, downtrodden, minorities of society, despite the fact that neither are blacks and Latinos. You guys give them that label because you are the real racists. The announcement was met with considerable excitement, but also some backlash as fans reacted negatively to Q. Now had the role instead of Wendee Lee, who originally voiced yoruichi when the series began back in 2004. I bet this is their bias talking. The announcement was met with considerable excitement, but also backlash as some fans reacted negatively. The vast majority of fans did. It's real. The vast majority of fans reacted negatively because the vast majority of fans are fans that have been watching the original, because this is not an accessible new Bleach story. This is only for the fan. You cannot watch 1000 Year Blood War and understand it at all unless you'd seen the previous 600 episodes of Bleach. I know there aren't that many, but you get what I'm saying. You had to have watched an original or read an original long-running series from 20 years ago all the way through to have even an idea of what's going on in the show right now. It is not newbie accessible. So no, all the fans, that were excited about this role aren't real fans. They're people who are screaming for diversity hires on X, not actually people who watch the anime. Some called Q a diversity hire, which she was. Doesn't mean she can't be talented, but you can be talented and be a diversity hire, suggesting she was only chosen because of her race. Stop changing our characters' perfect voices just because you found some colored voice actor to voice your black character, one wrote on X. Pretty blunt and to the point, but I can't argue with it. Others were upset because they felt Q had quote-unquote stolen the role from Lee, even though both performers voiced other characters in the show. This was a casting director forcing an agenda, read another complaint on X. I doubt it was a casting director forcing an agenda. I bet it was a top-down executive, decision forcing an agenda, because we've seen this from Funimation, we've seen this from Viz Media. We're seeing this rampant in the anime industry, specifically in the dubbing and translating industry, where they will take things from the Japanese dub, that would translate directly, and heavily change it to fit left-leaning identity politics. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of that, so it wouldn't surprise me. Hey, it could be a casting director forcing an agenda, but I bet it goes even higher than that in my conspiratorial lizard brain. Amidst the mix of congratulations and complaints on October 21st, Q announced that she would no longer be voicing the role and her recordings would be replaced. Wendee Lee would be taking her place. As it should be, regardless of whether you like Wendee Lee or not, she is the original and she's the one that the fans are fans of. So yeah, when they go meet her at some sort of anime convention in bumfuck Idaho and they want to get her to sign the manga or sign a copy of their DVD, they're going to be looking for Wendee Lee, not this knockoff wannabe who just came into the show at the very end and is not going to be remembered the way Wendee Lee is remembered. Again, I'll say it a third time, I'm sure she is a fine voice actress, but not for a legacy role that was popularized by somebody else when, let's be honest, she's probably here as a diversity hire. Hey y'all, the studio and client decided to go in a different direction, so I'm no longer voicing yoruichi in Bleach 1000 Year Blood War, and my recordings will be replaced. It meant a lot to take on such an iconic woman of color. I appreciate all the love. I'll still be voicing Hiyori. So this is where I got a problem. Whoops. It means a lot to voice such an iconic woman of color. That's all this character is to these people, an iconic woman of color. And I'm gonna be real with you, again, as someone who's not a big Bleach fan, but Chad. Is Chad just an iconic man of color? No. Chad is an iconic character. He's an iconic cast member from Bleach. People, you should not be focusing on their race, on their skin color, on, any immutable characteristic like that. This is the problem I have with modern day voice actors who want to get political and talk about dumb shit like this. Let's be real. No one cares about the fact that she's a woman of color. They care that she is a good character. And the fact that you have to point out she's a woman of color absolutely proves to me you are not right for the job. Because all you're seeing is skin tones, skin color, characteristics that do not matter in the grand scheme of things. You are the ones enabling this racism by only focusing on the race. So you know what? If it takes a white girl playing a dark-skinned character for no one to say anything, or just to be like, oh yeah, let's just watch the show, that's fine by me. I would rather a white girl play a dark-skinned character than having a dark-skinned actor play a dark-skinned character and not shut the hell up about, WOC, women of color, dark skin tone characters. No, it's fiction. It's a cartoon. Let's just watch the show and not try and inject modern day political ideologies into every facet of life. We get enough of that out there in the real world. Let us have our damn anime. As sympathies poured in from fans and fellow voice performers, Lee also appeared to argue with those expressing support. When a fellow voice performer expressed sympathy for Kiones, saying it was unfortunate she'd been in her class, Lee replied, just maintaining the iconic character. And a lot of people took exception to this. So Kaylee Mills, yeah, she was very upset that Q here got her role recasted. And yeah, Wendee Lee said, just maintaining the iconic character, Kaylee. You know what? Maybe she shouldn't have said it. Don't know, don't care. If I were a voice actress and I saw a bunch of individuals coming in and snapping up roles that I had made famous, that my peers had made famous, all for politically and ideologically driven reasons instead of the actual merit of their work, instead of their actual talent, I would be upset as well. I'd have some questions. And you know what? If this is Wendee Lee's breaking point, then good on her. I think she did an A-okay job. I think that this is exactly how maybe not exactly how it should be handled, because again, a lot of some tone gets lost through text, and maybe there was some misreadings or whatnot how it went down on X, but either way, I'm tired of people staying quiet and just accepting the status quo, so a shakeup did need to happen. So in that instance, I think Wendee Lee is totally in the right, and that this didn't need to happen. She went on to say, just following what Viz requested, thought I too might have your support, Tiana. You're really disappointed, Xander, I see. Just maintaining the iconic character, Kaylee. Nothing whatsoever. I did establish the role years ago, which she did. And I saw this hilarious post on X saying, oh, Wendee Lee established the role? What about the Japanese voice actress that everybody heard first? And you know that's an intellectually dishonest argument, because nobody in America, aside from the hardest of otakus, watched the original Japanese version of Bleach. They waited for it to be dubbed, and they watched it here in America. This is 2004. Watching stuff with subs was not a common thing. You didn't just get to, pop on Netflix streaming and turn on the subtitle version of Bleach. That wasn't a thing yet. You waited on Saturday night for Toonami, and you heard the dub, and then you waited a whole week till the next week, and then you heard it all over again with the new episode. So don't pretend that the original Japanese voice actress is the one that made the character iconic. In America, it was Wendee Lee and Wendee Lee alone, because it was not the era of streaming. You either read the manga and made up your own voice in your head, or you watched the anime and you heard the American voices, and that was that. There's also one more part of this article I want to point out that, in my opinion, invokes the racism of the individuals who are trying to be the anti-racist. Jameson Price, who is the original voice of Bleach's Sato Chad Yatsura, again, the best character in all of Bleach. Chad was the man. So he stepped down. A character of Mexican and Japanese descent stated back in November he would not be voicing Chad in Thousand Year Blood War, saying he no longer auditions for roles for people of color. Access to opportunity in anime has not been equal, he posted on X. By stepping aside, now I open the door of access and giving the opportunity to an actor who can represent Yatsuro Sato with the same love and pride and imagination, but with more life experience than I have. Bro, you are playing a character that fights monsters in a spirit realm. Like, are you out your damn mind? Ain't no voice actor in the real world got experience like that. You are so fixated on this character's skin color. It is actually sickening how much you think about the racial aspect of this when nobody rightfully cared in 2006, because all we wanted to see were our favorite characters fighting evil spirit monsters and get some escapism. But it gets better. Chad is now voiced by Elaine Mesa, a performer of Cuban descent. Now remember, the character is Mexican and Japanese. He's of Mexican and Japanese descent, but James has said he would no longer, voice roles for non-white characters. So they got a Cuban, someone of Cuban descent to voice a Mexican and Japanese. Just going to show that these individuals are racist because their mentality is whatever, any brown person will work. Like, if any brown person will work, then why won't any person? If you're so okay with taking a Cuban character, a Cuban voice actor, and having them voice a half Mexican character, then where do you draw the line? Why can't the white guy voice anything other than white people? It's so, and I get it. This was Jameson Price, doing the standing down. It was not, so far as we can tell, so far as we know, it was not an executive decision by the studio, but it's this sort of mentality that is absolutely poisoning one of the last bastions of free speech we have, considering Japan has really not bowed and kowtowed to this dangerous ideology that the West seems to be pushing. But when that starts to infect anime in the dubbing and transitioning process, then we're not going to be getting this sort of free speech, viewing material that we appreciated all those years ago. All in all, it's absolutely insane to me to see people who are actually upset at Wendee Lee for daring to want her iconic job back, one of the roles that she has made famous and that she has maintained for years upon years. When people go to anime conventions and they ask for her autograph, they're doing it on covers of Bleach or on magazine casings that show this character or whatever it may be. There's a large swath of individuals who are fans of Wendee Lee. Maybe not necessarily even this character, but they're fans of Wendee Lee. She's been an established voice actress in the community for like 20 years at this point. She's right up there with Tara Strong in terms of how long she's been around and how fans have heard her in different projects and whatnot. And when you see shows like this that are run by Viz Media, but let's be real, it streams exclusively on Hulu, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I think it's a Hulu exclusive. If that's the case, that means Disney's involved. It does make me wonder how much of this comes down to ideological decisions from the top. Maybe it had nothing to do, maybe this Keone's girl, maybe Q, she's just an innocent bystander out here catching strays from the fan base because she was put on a pedestal she ought not be put on by those tops of the upper echelon, by the top executives at the show, or at the studio, and they just let this girl take all the bullets because they don't care as long as they look good to the fans, except for this is not what fans want, and those studios are starting to slowly realize fans will turn on them if they do not continue producing what they want. Not just when it comes to anime, but when it comes to any other artistic, nerdy medium. Fans are getting to the point where they've had enough, and it looks like now even the cast and the crew and the individuals that work on the show are getting to where they've had enough, as detailed by the fact that Wendee Lee actually stood up for a role that was rightfully hers. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X where you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, and I'm trying to get to the 2,000 subscriber mark before the end of the year. We got barely over 300 to go, which means you can absolutely do this. I'd appreciate it. We got a whole lot going on this channel. We got live streams, we got guest appearances, we got multiple videos a day at times, and usually at least one video a day covering the nerdy news. You all are gonna love what you see. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you here, and make sure to talk in the comments about what you think of this situation. But until next time, it's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.